didn't catch nothing until I was about 12. So I didn't know how to do it. And there's nobody around really to teach you.
Yeah.
Or show you.
Yeah.
And I fished 6 years before I caught a fish, but once I started catching them, I had the act of catching them. Man, I just pulled them out of Letort day after day after day. So there was a lot of people fishing back then because, as you know, the Letort runs down through Carlisle and runs out through the Army Post and on down the Middlesex into the Conagwena Creek.
Yeah.
And back then there was a lot of kids that fished the Letort, especially from the Letort school up. They'd be in there fishing. So it was loaded. It was like a dang zoo. I mean, fishermen came from all over the place. What generally happened was they'd have it stocked for about 2 weeks, and then they'd leave it go for about 2 weeks or whatever in some time period, and they'd stock it again. That'd be it for the summer. And what was left over was left over. And I guess some of them turned wild. They had to. So, but back then, yeah, there was no. You could fish anything, spin, fishing, catching only back then. Wasn't any such thing. I mean, there's guys fished it with flies because they understood, you know, that you catch more fish. Back then, they carried more fish home than they threw back.
Yeah.
So they did. But Grandma and whatever always wanted some fish to fry.
Yeah.
And that's where mine would go.
Yeah.
I'd bring them home, she'd skin them, and cook them for supper. Biggest fish I ever caught, I would say roughly 15 inches.
That was Letort.
And it was an 80 brown, and I caught him right down below Jack's place.
Oh, cool.
And the neighbor up the street, Ed Widener, he worked for the Postal Service, rural postal route, and then he had the afternoons off and he'd fish it, and he tied flies also. And he actually taught me how to tie flies. I mean, it took a while, it didn't happen overnight. But he helped me to taught me how to tie flies, and I had time and use them, no problem. These are, I forget what you call them, technical name, some kind of bug.
Jitterbug.
Jitterbug. Mm-hmm. That's what they are. They were mine when I was a little boy growing up, and Charlie Fox tied these, carved them out of cedar wood with his little pocket knife, and put the hooks in, and that's cedar wood. It's not it's painted with a light coat of polyurethane sprayed on. But that's how I acquired them, and I just kept them all these years, and you two boys got them. So, but I never fished with them. I never put them on. I never fished with them. I don't know whether they'll catch any. They say they will, the guys I know that had them.
Yeah. But
I never fished any, because back then when you think of this, you think that's a bass trout.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I'm not saying they're for trout, but they can go either way, and we fished them for trout. Huh. Now, the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish.
Yeah.
And it worked. Charlie gave them to me one day. I don't know what for. He had a whole, I mean, he tied this kind of stuff on end. And he had a whole damn room full of it. I don't know what he gave them to me for. He said, "Here, Joe, try these out, or keep them as a souvenir." And that's how I got them. But I never hooked a line to them, so I didn't. But yeah, they were good old days. I mean, you talk about Vince Marinara and Charlie Fox and Ross Trimmer and some of the other ones. They were at that time period. They were the elite fly fishermen in this area.
You said that Charlie, that one of them had a shack in the middle of in the meadow by the Letort that they were sleeping.
It was like a, I can't tell you to describe it. It's just like this.
Oh yeah.
You've seen them all right, canvas ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was just like this, but it was all wood, and there was glass windows in it and a door in it. And you know, if you got caught out and it was cold and was fishing, you could get in there and warm up. Or if it was raining, you could get out of the water, get out of the rain. Because once you're on one side of the Letort, that's where you're going to stay. And on the other side, you stay there because there was two places to cross when I was growing up. And if you weren't close to it to use it to get into, you were getting wet.
What do you usually use to catch
I started
fish?
out with worms. I started out with blackheads, they call them, the short ones.
Okay.
And I fished that for a good many years, blackheads, you know. And then I got into the spin fishing. I came on board through the companies and got into the stores, the spinning rods and the reels. And I caught quite a few fish with spinning rods and reels. But back then, that was new, you know. You had to learn how to work it. You couldn't go hog wild on a narrow stream. But I caught a lot of fish with spinners. And then I got to the point, I asked Ed Widener, I said, teach me how to tie flies. He said, yeah, I'll teach you. And then I spent a summer with him, and he'd go fishing every night because he was a rural postal. He was always done by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And he'd head up the Letort. And the night he didn't want to be bothered too much and didn't care. He'd take me along, you know, take me out. But the night he was working on something, ain't nobody was around it. They didn't give their secrets away too quick back then. So they did.
So, you know, the Letort hopper was invented there, all the terrestrial fishing, so hoppers and ants and crickets.
Yeah.
They said it was invented there. Was that like when you were growing up, was that really like a big thing, or did people not really know about it?
That just had come into being then.
Yeah.
You know, the fly fishermen jumped on it with both feet.
Yeah.
They knew what was behind it. You know, they knew they could catch fish on flies. But then when they got down to the hoppers and what you're speaking of, they used a little more tact, a little more design, a little more change, and that's how they come up with all these flies. So they did. They used them. Always have. Well, having 2 fly rods. It's the only 2 I ever had. But they were heavy backhand, bulky.
Where'd you get the fly rods?
Usually bought them uptown at Carlisle and Allen's Hardware, Charlton Sporting Goods Hardware. I used to work there as a kid growing up and going to school. He had fishing equipment, and I sold a lot of fishing equipment up out there. But it was an experience. It ain't like it today. It's not like it was back then. It's not there. One day, Magoon had that fly fishing, or the crest beds area, and there was fish in it. There was fish in it. I mean, there were 15, 18-inch fish in it. Ed Weiner had a 36-inch fish he caught halfway up between Carlisle and your Uncle Jack's place. But you take a poison spray, just like when you spray the grass in the spring of the year, you're killing the weeds. Well, in this case, they were killing the bugs, and it got loose. Well, and everything in its path from here to the corner went it and on down, fish died. I mean, they were dying like flies. And they finally found out where it come from, who was doing it. I don't know whether they ever prosecuted him or fined him or anything else. But I think he was made to clean it up the best he could. There's much you can do when you got that stuff in the stream. It just goes to the water, it goes to the stream. And it'll go till it gets thinned out so much it's not potent anymore. Other than that, why? And it goes up the headwaters. I'd walk up the headwaters every night up above Bonnie Brook where it splits. Come on down through and fish it. And I'd always catch fish. I always didn't catch size ones, but I always catch fish. And there in the spring of the year when they spawned, or when the little browns hatched out and got about 4 inches long, well, they just flop around like god dang eggs, on top of the water. You didn't much to see them. They poof, out they come, in they go.
Had, did you say you saw someone had a trout in a cage one time?
Yeah, I think that was Vince Marinara. He kept it secret, I think, for a long time from his guys. I think, I'm not sure. Them 3 or 4 guys were pretty tight. They didn't tell you too much. But what he'd do is he'd catch a big native, whether a brown or a brookie. Generally, he tried for brookies, but he had to go up Bonnie Brook to get into them, in that little stretch of stream up there. But what he'd do, he'd have a trap built. You see, like the muskrat and coon traps today. You know, like they set out in the field. And, well, that's what he had. So he had it up underneath the bank there at Fox's Meadow in the stream. Mm-hmm. And when he'd catch a big one, he'd make sure nobody was looking. He'd take him over and open the thing, drop him in, set the stream back down the water. And hell, he'd be in there for days or weeks. I mean, hell, the bugs went through the screen, so they got fed. But yeah, he used to catch a few that way and stack them in. So did Widener. They had nice size boxes. They weren't no little wooden boxes back then. They weren't metal.
What they were doing, I think, was they transported fish to different parts of the stream.
Yeah.
And they took what they thought was the best fish and put them all in one section of the stream.
Yeah.
And then they took that section and they made it fly fishing only.
That's what they did. But that was an experience living and going through that back then.
Yeah,
you always had something to do. It was always fun. If you don't have nothing to do, you could always go fishing. Didn't cost you a nickel. There was a lot of natives in Big Springs. A lot of natives. I don't know how it is today, but they had the native Newville fishermen, you know, and they had the Big Springs fishermen, and then they had the Letort fishermen. I mean, everybody knew a little about each one of the crest beds in the springs. So they did. They knew about them. But I never caught a lot of fish. I could never get on to the knack of it. And I got my fair share, but I never had that talent, you know, to drop it right, or you know, especially dry fly. But then again, what they have today for a fishing rod is like nothing. Back then, it was like a telephone pole. It's pretty hard to lay a line out straight in a telephone pole. And if he was in there, he had him. He had him. I lost about a 28-inch one like that one night. And Charlie Fox was standing right beside me. Of course, I'm glad he was, because I caught him, took him out, and got him out of there. I was going to get him mounted. And they didn't like that idea, you taking their fish out of there and getting it mounted. But they'd work with you. They'd tell you anything you want to know, help you out, show you. In fact, half of them go up in the damn meadow and just bullshit. Yeah. Well, they start showing up about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In the heat of summer, that was hot.
Yeah.
But then I'll tell you something else we did that helped that stream. That stream has a lot of silt in it. So it does. And it always did have. And it was all run off from the pasture fields and the farm fields. And in our neighborhood, there's about 15, 20 guys or young people. We used to swim in the Letort. That's where we swam. And we'd walk up the Bonnie Brook with our big tractor inner tubes. Throw them in up Bonnie Brook and get on them things and ride and try to knock each other off and do what kids do, you know. Well, the fishermen didn't care whether they did that or not. That was fine. That stirred them trout up in there. It got all the silt running downstream that there wasn't any in there anymore for a while. And that moved a lot of the big ones around and opened up the crest bug and all the rest of the little squirmly things. That would open that, but we'd be in there 3 months. We'd been there 12 weeks swimming. We had 2 piers built, one right down back at Widener's place. He built a pier for us for jumping off of railroad ties, used ones. Yeah, we had them, but we stirred up. Boy, that evening, we stirred up, we actually ripped a lot of it out and let it go. And you could see them trout in there then. But that kept it open, kept it going. But then it's just, like I say, when they put that in the fly fishermen, I was 19 years old. That's when they put it in. So anything between 6 and 19 was fish what you want to fish. But that's how that happened. I don't know that much about Mary other than her name, Mary Vale. And as you know, where Jack and Dolores live now, that's where I grew up. And Squire Dosh, which was the Justice of the Peace, lived across the street at that time. But she'd always come down and park at the end of the road there, just like it is today. And I'd watch her. Well, she was either getting her short rod out and doing plugs, or she's getting her long 20-foot one out and put a mini on about that long. And you'd put that mini right down through his throat and out his butt. And you work it like this. The mini was heavy enough that you could just take it, and that tippet would take it right out there. For all the water that stream is, it didn't take much. And then she'd work that up along the bank. And you can always tell when Mary got one, she let you know. But the guys didn't care for her too much because she was taking trout out and eating them. And she lived up at Route 233 where Jake is up there, where you hunted.
Yeah, Vale Road up there.
Yeah, Vale Road. She lived there. But she fished the Letort religiously. She fished the vast waters too. She just didn't fish trout. But boy, she liked, there ain't nothing she liked to do better than catch a big trout out from underneath one of them old men. Basically, I fished just the Letort. I tried Yellow Breeches one time, and me and the Yellow Breeches didn't get along. It just wasn't my type of stream, you know. And I fished the Letort most of the night. I fished the Conagwinet for bass. Yeah. One of the islands out there, you know, I'd fish that. How we fish that regularly. I stop?
Yeah.
Well, put it this way. When you got two little ones walking around, and a big one walking the hell around you, and the yard's cut and other shit to do, you ain't got time to go fishing every day. Yeah. So I got married. Plain words. Your daddy showed up in the picture. But other than that, why? Other than that, but I caught big fish. I caught my fair share of fish. But the Letort's a stream you have to work at. Good. You have to work at it. You just can't. It just don't happen overnight.
Technical.
Some summers it don't happen at all.
Do you think it's declined like over the years? Like it got worse? Since...
Oh yeah, it's declined. It is filled up with silt. When it fills up, it spreads out and it gets thin. And the only thing that's going to wash that crap out of there is somebody get in there and stir it up. Well, that's what we used to do as kids, stir it up. Oh boy. But number one, it was a good place to grow up around. It was a good place to fish and be around kids your size and men, you know. And just to be outside, you know, in the morning before daybreak or right after daybreak or in late evening and see the fish rise and see them come up and, you know, it just, you know, it is a whole different experience, you know, a whole different experience.
Dig a hole in the meadow, dig a hole in the cold dark ground. Dig a hole in the meadow, we're gonna lay our coals down. Dig a hole in the meadow, dig a hole in the cold dark ground. Dig a hole in We're gonna lay